Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. We've covered the story about the rat problem in Glasgow before, but now it's actually got to such an extent that council workers, in fact bin workers in particular, will refuse to enter some areas because the rat problem is that bad and the rats are that big. We're talking the giant rat of Sumatra here. Rats as big as dogs. It's an admission of a failure that this is even a thing. And of course it isn't, as Susan Aitken says, merely that the rats are more visible. It is quite clearly that there are a lot more rats. But when you see the size of them, you think, yeah, I don't think I'd want to go anywhere near them either. Let's take a look at this story with pictures of giant rats. Here goes. Now, I did say they were as big as dogs, but I didn't say what dogs. We're not talking Great Danes here. However, I am technically correct. Bin men refused to enter Glasgow Street as giant rats the size of chihuahuas run riot. Union bosses have ordered refuse removal teams not to enter the area on Earl Street in Scottstown, which has been plagued with vermin problems. Now, it is... we're laughing at the size of, I said dogs, and it turns out to be chihuahuas. Even so, I think these rats are big enough. So, a Glasgow Street's bin shelters have been declared a no-go area for refuse collectors due to giant rats the size of chihuahuas. Union bosses have ordered bin men not to enter the area on Earl Street in Scottstown after they're overrun by vermin the size of these small dogs. And of course you do have this issue. It is a health and safety issue. Not only the rats themselves, which can, if trapped, be quite vicious and bite, but also you've got the disease-carrying fleas and whatever's there. They are vermin for a reason, and it is quite clearly an issue that needs to be addressed. And wait till I flick up here and you will see the size of these rats. Residents claim the lack of action has left the street a mess, while bin officials say the move is to avoid compromising the safety of their workers. One bin man likened some of the rats he saw in the back courtyards of Earl Street residences to the popular Mexican dog breed. And of course it is, they're claiming it's a health and safety issue. Of course it absolutely is. But it's also, of course, a health and safety issue for the residents there. And so that is why this needs to be solved. They need to get the vermin people in to absolutely sort out this problem once and for all. It is understood that residents have been told to move their bins to the street rather than the usual bin area behind the flats, so they will be collected. But this plan won't solve the vermin infestation, claim locals. And also, you're now putting locals at risk of being bitten or infections and things like that, rather than council workers. So the risk is not going away, it's just being transferred. But anyway, here we go. Here's an image of the rats. And you can sort of see the size of these things, especially, look, we're not talking chinchillas here. We're talking majorly big, fat, sleek, well-fed rats. Sam Whitehouse, 70, said, "We can't have our bins left all over the place. It's unsightly and unhygienic practice to have these in front of our houses. I've seen rats out the back and there is a big problem with them. But surely all that, moving the bins into the front, is going to achieve is to attract the rats to the front instead. They are going to look for food wherever they can find it. I don't see how moving the bins moving where the bins are situated will act as a deterrent. What you need is a bunch of people with air rifles and just sitting there and pinging them. A bit of target practice. Or, and if only they hadn't made a law against it, set the dogs on them. Not sure what the law is with dogs. Are you allowed to go ratting with dogs? I think you might well be. I think ratting with dogs is still allowed. But yeah, that's what you need. You want to get a couple of good ratters in there. That'll help clear the problem. Chris Mitchell, GMB convener for Glasgow's cleansing work, said, "I've been raising this issue for years and we're still waiting on something to be done. Our members' health and well-being are being put at risk because the area is now overrun by huge rats. Vermin have been known to bite and leave droppings all over the place. And of course rat shit is absolutely filled, vile bacteria. You can't just hoover it up. This is the other thing. Because it goes through, it turns into dust. It comes out the back end of the hoovers and things. and that is incredibly dangerous. It's only a matter of time before someone ends up ill because of this. Our members rightly feel that the issue needs to be sorted out, and we will not be stepping foot into the rear bin areas of Earl Street until the rat infestation is properly dealt with. There is an embankment that runs along the back of the properties where the rats nest, and that is what's causing the problem. You need to get to the nest. You need to exterminate these things. Whatever the rat equivalent of VX is, get that in there. Sam says the lack of collections is putting extra pressure on elderly people to find somewhere to dispose of their waste, and is not happy with the council response. He said, "We got letters through the door and I was upset by the tone of them. The language was very confrontational, and the demands were draconian in my opinion. We didn't opt to move the bins or have them emptied every 3 weeks, but now it looks like it's become the residents' problem. But it isn't. The rat problem is a council problem. They have people dedicated to dealing with things like this, environmental health officers, and you have to ask why the environmental health officers aren't doing their thing. The bins are laying there for anyone to use. All sorts of things are being stuffed into them by people walking past. We've now been told that if they are full, it's up to us to find somewhere else for our household rubbish to go. I'm not fit to traipse around looking for a recycling point or a half-empty bin that doesn't belong to me. I don't believe the onus for this should be on the tenants when I pay council tax for a regular and reliable refuse collection service. He's quite right. He pays the tax, they've got to supply. They cannot force him to do this, especially elderly people or infirm people who just don't necessarily have the ability to do it. He says, we don't want rats running around. We certainly don't want big bins the length of the street. No, I mean, you don't want to just shift the problem. You want the problem eradicated. Find out where the nest is and eradicate the problem. This is something that environmental health need to be doing on a weekly basis until this problem has dispersed, and then make sure it is controlled regularly. A spokesperson from Glasgow City Council says they are aware of the issues and concerns, and they said, we've been working with the local housing association to address the problem. Some bin courts in the area were previously in poor condition, but work has been undertaken to keep them in good order. Lockable bin tops is usually a good thing. The rats can't get in, can't open them. One of the other problems, of course, is that they will eat their way through the plastic to get into these bins. And basically, if they can get their nose through, they can get their body through it. So, they only need a hole as big as the end of your end of your little finger. They can squeeze their entire body through. We are hopeful our pest control measures at this location will have an impact, but we'll continue to monitoring the situation closely. And once the pest problem has been dealt with, bins can be returned back to normal. Well, yeah, but you need to ensure that it is dealt with. Environmental health needs to be on this like a shot. Like I said, in the meantime, anyone there with an air rifle should go along and just take pot shots and, help clear the problem by leaving a trail of dead rats. They're easy to pick up by environmental health. But ain't it awful having to live like that? It's horrendous. They were big-looking rats. Anyway, I should stop there and come up. Now, ultimately, of course, it's all the responsibility of the king rat, Susan Aitken herself. She's in charge of the council. She ultimately is in charge of every aspect of the council. And so it's up to her to organise this to be sorted. This is exactly the sort of things they need to do. This represents a clear danger to health, an immediate danger to health. And the fact that it has not been cleared is actually, I suspect, breach of health and safety law. So perhaps the tenants there could band together and get some kind of court case going. That would concentrate the minds of the council. Lovely, wouldn't it? Let's get that sorted. We don't want to go to court. So there we go. That's how you deal with it. But it is down ultimately to the biggest rats of all, which are Glasgow City Council. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching the video. Nice start to the day, I think. Nice big fat rat problem. Always good to start with rats of all shapes and sizes. And I shall move on to the next video now. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, do please hit that subscribe button. Let's widen the content, widen the viewership, and get the message out there, get the truth out there. Please leave a like on the video, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, a rat is not just for Christmas. They're 365 days a year, and they're only about 6 feet away. Bye.